Добрий день і вітаю всіх.
Welcome everybody joining us today. Your anchor is Olga Temanova. Welcome to Media Center Ukraine. We are zeroing in on an important issue, the results of the public awareness campaign jointly done by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the State Emergency Service, and the National Police and UNICEF. It's called Light Up. It focuses the safety of the Ukrainians in winter. It's an important topic, isn't it? So we are talking to our panelists, including Vasyl Bohdan, the head of the Juvenile Prevention Department of the National Police of Ukraine. We have Svitlana Vodolaha, the head of the Communication Department of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. Thank you for joining us this morning. Mr. Bohdan, may I start with you? How important the topic is? I know that you have done research with the Rating Sociological Service. What would you like to share with us? Welcome. Firstly, I would like to point out that last winter we had about 23,000 accidents leading to traumas and deaths. The lion's share of this was caused by the fact that the pedestrians, including children, were not seen, were not visible. And of course, the problem becomes very urgent in wintertime. And when we have blackouts, it is quite an acute issue. This is why the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the UNICEF with the National Police have launched a campaign called Light Up. The main major goal is to make sure that the light reflective strips are worn by the citizens. Why is it important? You want to be visible. Pedestrians are not seen by a driver, as you can see here on this slide. People driving at about 60 kilometers per hour, you can see people somewhere at the 18 minutes, but the brake path is about 40 meters, which naturally means that a driver cannot hit the brake pedal. And to respond, the situation is better when you talk about 130 meters when you see the pedestrians. So the decrease of the accident-prone things show that the use of light reflective elements decreases the possibility of the pedestrian being hit by 85%, which is quite a number. We should not also forget about the children. Children are not that visible because they are just smaller in size and their behavior is quite unpredictable. To protect children, they must wear light reflective strips. What do we talk about? Bracelets and the strips on their this is the place where you can see them. They are very useful and handy. The other are such things as these self-adhesive things where you can put on your clothes. Then other pendles and things that you can fix on your backpacks, on your things that you wear. Another effective means is the so-called these parts, as my colleague has shown, they are providing a maximum level of visibility, especially when a kid is on the bike or other means of transportation. And the last point is something that you sew on your clothes, on your caps, on your coats, things that are reflecting light. How do you use them? What is important is the placement. These reflective elements must be visible from all sides, from front, from your back, from side. For example, your backpack must have this elements when you paste them on your clothes. Self-reflective elements are very impressive. One is not enough. This is the rule, the more the better. When a kid is using such a trinket or if they are using their bikes, they must have such things as trinkets or self-adhesive elements on their wheels. And the flickers, of course, things that reflect light, and irrespective of the situation, you will be on the safe side of things because they're always available. I would also like to talk about the parents and their recommendations. First, children must wear very bright clothes with light reflective elements, including the shoes or other warm clothes that have already flickers, especially at the level of legs or hands, because this is what the drivers see in the first place. In wintertime, it is important that light reflective elements are visible. Additional reflective elements are also important. Children must have additional trinkets or vests on or different things on their backpacks, things that reflect the light. As I have mentioned, the rule applies here, the more the better, either trinkets or other things that you paste on their chevrons and other stripes. Lights, of course, are important. Lights are important, and flashlights are important in their telephones. One, you have to teach children that once they don't have any flickers, a telephone is something that all children have, and it is very important to use your flashlights when you cross the road. You have to switch that on to show that you are crossing the road and you will be seen by the drivers. Flashlights are important also that children know how to use them. They have to use such in a way that they are seen by the drivers a little bit lower, not into the car to dazzle the driver, but visibility in general is very important. Children must be taught the fact that drivers are very limited in time, and of course it is important that behavior while you are a pedestrian is important. It applies for wintertime, for summertime. Always you have to check whether there are vehicles that are on their move. Before you cross the road, you have to make sure that it's safe. The last point is that light reflective elements, it's a very simple, available means to prevent any accidents. Investing into such chevrons and stripes, you ensure the safety. As for the accidents, it's important, isn't it? Last year, over the winter time, we saw more than 23,000 road accidents. The lion's share of that have to do with the fact that pedestrians were not visible. Svitlana, can I turn to you? We know that in wintertime, the challenge is not always the roads or the vehicles, but the water areas are also important in this realm. You mentioned that once the winter has set in, traditionally, unfortunately, we see that there are new dangers for both children, teenagers, and the adults. It relates to water areas, to the ice. And of course, we talk about icicles, however funny that might sound. And of course, mine safety is very important. Special zone of risk are teenagers in the first place, but adults are not excluded. It does not depend on the area where you are living. It has to do with the villages or cities all around the country. Let us begin then with what is a most routine, quote-unquote, danger. We are talking about ice. Once we've seen the first layer of ice, and we see people are beginning to fish. And angling is an important issue here. We should remember that children are copying the behavior of the adults. And we always make a point that we have to teach our children, but it requires that grown-ups are aware of the situation. You know, children always are copying the behavior of the adults. Once we see the ice on the lakes, we see people angling for fish. And this is what children do to enjoy themselves while the ice is available. Over the winter time, for December last year and first winter months this year, we saw 124 people dying in the lakes, including 9 children. 29 accidents were recorded in the water areas. But the statistics go that once we have ice on the lakes or rivers, we see the death cases. Wintertime. Unfortunately, children are enjoying their winter holidays, and this is where the danger lies, because children are left alone with the environment. There are no control mechanisms, and they would allow something to do which they wouldn't do when the parents are around. So during the winter holidays, we are beginning our prevention campaign. We increase the intensity of such campaigns, and this is the time to present such a public awareness campaign. The next danger is the period of icicles and icy roads. Why is it important? You have to care for what you wear, what your kid wears, and the behavior of your kid. It's important to make sure that during the glazed frost, children should not listen to the music over the phones while crossing the street. They might not see the danger, as, for example, holes in the ground. And another example is when we are going through the thaw and you go by the buildings, of course, there are icicles hanging over us, which is a danger, bringing in the traumas. It should be taken account of, and we should remember about those things. During the glazed frost, it is important not to step on the covers of the holes. The shoe that you wear, or your kids wear, should not be icy. And of course, you have to cross the roads in special places covered with sand or other means of protection. Another point is mine safety. It has a special relevance to the deoccupied territories where the hostilities were taking place. Given the fact that the war is still raging on and countries being constantly shelled, this topic is very relevant and urgent for all the corners of Ukraine. Why is it that during wintertime we pay special attention to these areas? We've developed methodological recommendations, and the public awareness campaign signs that we have developed with the UNICEF. We talk about the safety in terms of minds, because minds might be under the layer of snow or the layer of leaves. It must be born in mind. Unfortunately, currently, since the full-scale war, the mine safety and the explosive devices brought deaths to 380 people and 765 wounds, including 86 children. To reiterate, teaching children mind safety is very important, and it is likely to be urgent for years to come. Our special attention goes to this. Once you've seen something suspicious, don't touch, don't approach, go back just the way you have approached that item and phone 102. UNICEF have conducted a research, and they have found out that the rescuers are the people that children tend to listen to and trust them. This is why we would like to cover as many topics as possible where the first responders teach our children. My personal example is this. Parents shared with me the following. Our children know what to do because while I am taking my kid to a kindergarten or to a school or back from school, they have seen something, they have looked, the grown-ups are looking at something, and they say, Dad or Mommy, we have been taught not to approach, not to look. You have to contact 101 service, which means that our public awareness campaign with the UNICEF is effective and is bringing fruit. As I have said, the Ministry of the Interior and the emergency services and National Police, with the help of our partners from the UNICEF, we are constantly engaging children, and we are also developing the science for children, targeting different categories of children, for younger kids, for the teenagers, and even for the adults. We are using modern approaches, and perhaps I will blow my own trumpet, because for the first time, with the help of the UNICEF, we've applied unorthodox methods for government authorities to teach children the safety rules. We have taken on board for this board the language of slang, and we talk to children in their own language, what is a trend, what is not trendy, and we told them that it is trendy now, it's a fad to be safe. And we also engage the hashtag language as a form of teaching, because children are different, children are so active, and they gather information from all possible sources. But I have mentioned that they trust the first rescuers and responders, and it is through them that we want to get the message across to children. What matters for our children, the major rule that will keep them safety and will keep safe and keep them alive. This year, we've applied another way of communication. We were developing audio materials. Now, simple videos that teach you what to do or what not to do. This is something traditional. But the voice-over is also very harsh, and these are standard methods and approaches, and we realize that not always you hear what they are saying, that voice behind the scenes. This year, our audio materials, and UNICEF have helped us here, they speak in voices of well-known heroes from the movies such as Harry Potter 007 agent, among many others. We have also engaged for our work well-known bloggers and influencers. And at the end of the day, a lot of work that we have done, it will not be successful unless you are not alone. Our strength is in our joint work. So together with the Interior Ministry, with the National Police, Juvenile Police, through the mass media, together with the educational establishments, and of course with the help of their parents, can only we do a major joint job to teach our children to live safety. When we talk to younger generation, in a couple of years' time, we know that we will grow up a new generation. Grown-ups should remember that children copy the behavior of their children. For the children to be safe, parents must also observe the rules of safety. Only together will we ensure the safety of our future. I have the feeling that everything you have covered this morning and all your recommendations and advice and all the tragedies that we have seen in our lives, all of them are relevant to adults as well as they're relevant for children. It looks as if children are more conscious that their parents are, and statistics testifies to that fact. That's why I would like to draw your attention to the importance of these safety rules at the water areas while you are crossing the roads or you are pedestrians. These are all areas of higher risks. We face a lot of risks around us. Let us, at least in our everyday life, get rid of such bad behaviors. Ladies and gentlemen, if there are questions, let me know. I perhaps will pose questions that parents will ask you, where do I get these materials? What your advice is here? In fact, all these elements are on sales, and you can get them on the internet, in the supermarkets, in the shops. There must be no problems in terms of buying any elements of what we have shown this morning. As for our public awareness signs, we have such brochures and the leaflets available, everything we do together with the UNICEF. We also publish the newspapers for the pensioners. They're distributed through the first response services. All these kinds of information are available at the resilience points through everywhere in the country. Now that we are facing the blackouts and you go to your resilience points to charge your devices, the materials are available just there in both mobile and stationary points. I would like to thank you. It is an important issue. I appreciate everyone who has joined us, and of course I would like to thank the Defense Forces of Ukraine and our military men and women, because it's due to their efforts that we sit here together. And let me remind you again about those simple things. We continue to work towards our future victory. Glory to Ukraine.